Right, guys. Thank you each one of you for joining this session, and I hope each one of you are able to look at my screen. So can I get a yes or no here, please?
Yes, Siddha. Sorry,
Yeah.
Siva.
Yeah.
Yes, Shiva.
Yeah. Sure. And there's one more point. I'm not going to use the chat, right? I will not have access to the chat, for some reason. If you have any questions or if you wanted to, answer anything or so, please feel free to talk. Okay, so that is what just wanted to start with. Just give me one more minute. Right, so I'll just move on. Right, so maybe some of you know me little before as well, and then maybe some of you doesn't know me. Right, so for those who doesn't know me, right, this is Shiva. I basically out from Hyderabad, and then I have been working into IT from last 12 years. And just to start with, the technical knowledge that I have in the IT industry. I started my career as a SQL developer, and then I got an opportunity to work on MS-based stack after that. So I worked on SSAS, SSRS, and then SSAS. Right. So IS means SQL Server Integration Services, and then RS stands for Reporting Services, and AS stands for Analytics Services. I worked on SSAS, RS, and then IS for the starting 4 years. And then after that, I got an opportunity to work on Power BI as well. Right, so on Power BI, so we were developing various different dashboards and then reports, for the end users. And I moved from the company, and then I have joined another company. And then from the last 4 years, I've been on Azure basically. Right. So again, to start with, right, so I started my career as a data engineer, right? So now I'm on Azure data engineering, right? So my day-to-day activities, and by the way, guys, and I'm not a full-time trainer, so I'm a working professional, like many of you in the group, right? And I take sessions, during the time I get in my project, basically. Our sessions are going to be from 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, right? So that means weekdays typical. When I say 9:30 to 10:30 p.m., it is IST timings, guys. So Indian Standard Time. That's how we travel, right? So my day-to-day activities in the current projects that I'm working with includes SQL Server, SSIS, Azure. So in Azure, we majorly use Data Factory and then Azure SQL Server, and then we use some part of Databricks as well. And when it comes to outside of Azure, we also use Power BI and then Snowflake, right? We also use Snowflake for data storage. So by the way, Snowflake is a data warehouse as a service, right? So what I'm going to do now is, so I have some agenda to go through. So maybe, I just wanted, you guys to help understand some points for the next 40 or 45 minutes. And then I'll see if you have any questions, right? Okay. So I've started my slide. So the first point that we have on the screen is what is cloud computing? And we will also see the benefits of cloud, and then also we'll see the difference between on-premise and the cloud. And then we will also see the revenue of it. And then we'll actually jump on and then understand what is Microsoft Azure. And then we'll see the difference between SSAS versus ADF. Why only SSAS? We'll also try to discuss about it shortly. Guys, do we have here anyone working on Azure already? Guys, maybe you can try to unmute and then either say in yes or no.
No, Shiva.
No. Okay. Yeah. So thank you. The reason why I'm asking is, I'll take that as an expectation, and then I'll try to help you understand from that level onwards, basically. Okay. Thanks, guys. For those who have answered. For those who have not answered, I encourage each one of you to try to unmute, and then maybe you can answer it. Right. So anyways, let me get on. So first, as a first thing, let me help you understand what is cloud computing. Right. So we know what is a server, right? Even though you're not into IT, or you might not have any a typical IT experience, but we know what is a server, right? How you can store some data, right? And how you can copy the data from one machine to another machine, or then how you can access it. And then the databases, right? The databases can be a server that is deployed on a remote server, right? Or can be your local system as well. Or the networking, right? How the communication happens between your machine to the other machines, or between multiple machines. And then the software, that means how you can download a software and then install it and have a connection established to your company service. And then the analytics, right? Wherein you can fetch the data and then perform your analytics on top of it. If you are able to do them only via internet, right? Only via internet, then it is nothing but cloud computing. Right, guys? Simplest example that I can come with. Again, quick. If you are able to access the service, storage, databases, networking, and then so on only via internet, then it is nothing but cloud. It's a cloud environment that you are trying to access. But let's say if you are able to access them or perform those activities even without internet, then it is on-premise system. On-premise is something which is being maintained by you or your organization. Right, guys? So for this slide, so I think we are around some 10 plus people in the group, right? So I'll assume we all are working in one single organization, and we are in one team. I'll assume we are in one team. Okay. So with that expectation, right? So let's get inside and then try to understand the benefits of it. That means let's try to understand on-premise and then the cloud. Right? See, guys, as a beginner, right, understanding the difference between on-premise and the cloud is important. Right? So that's where we're going to start. See, guys, we have on-premise. So the first point that we have in the table is upfront cost is high. So whereas with the cloud, it's pay as you go. Right? We assumed we are all in one team. We are all in one organization and one team. And assume outside of organization, let's say we are all friends. And let's assume we have a idea to implement. When I say idea, think in such a way we wanted to convert our idea as a software product, right? IT product or software product to be precise. We are 10 people. Of course, we had 10 plus guys. Let me keep it simple. We were 10 people in the group, and assume we are very much good at technical knowledge, right? We are good at technicals, and also we know what product we are going to develop, and then the future path of it, right? So, given these two are available, and then our agenda is to develop a product, right? And then maybe develop a product for the next 6 months, and then get it into live, and then marketize it, get the customers out of it, and then gain revenue out of it, right? So that's the agenda we were trying to have. But to start a project, right, or to start working on a project, at least, let me put it this way, right? At least to start working on a project, what is the first thing that we need? Yes. Yes.
Application to work and then data.
Data, but that's true. Guys, can you please unmute yourself and then try to answer again? I'll try to
environment.
Guys, try to unmute yourself. I'll try to repeat my question here. To start a project, right? So we have technical expertise and we have a roadmap to develop, right? So as per you, what is is needed for anyone or any team to start a project with? So I got the answers like,
first of all, infra is needed and the required software applications are needed.
Okay, infra, maybe I'll go with infra, right? Any other thoughts, guys? Infra or any other? Come on, please. But to have the infra, what is needed? See, we are all like friends, right? We don't have any backing here, right? We don't have any support. To have infra, what is that needed? Infra is a right, but absolutely, that's a right answer. But there is something else we need first.
Money.
Money, absolutely right. Capital, right? Perfect. Capital is what we need because we are not from any organizations who can back us with the infrastructure, right? The capital. Sorry guys, yeah, the capital is what it is needed. Now let's assume we are very good at technical and then the functional knowledge of it, but we don't have any capital. So what we'll do, we can loan the money from a friend or maybe loan the amount from a bank, right? So let's take a case, we loaned 10 lakh rupees INR from a bank, right? So what we'll do after that, so once we have the capital with us, we will go and have the infrastructure. So what is infrastructure in this case, guys? We need to have the servers, we need to have the required applications, we need to have the licenses if any is needed in the bracket, and then we need to also have a people or a team who maintains my server 24/7, right? Absolutely right. Even before I start a project, all these are pretty much needed, right? So right. So assume we have purchased the servers and then we set up the infrastructure, and we have also hired multiple people who can basically monitor the server 24/7 basically, and also assume we have purchased the license for the software that we need. So now assume everything is set with the 10 lakh rupees that we have loaned, and then assume we have developed for the next 6 months, right? And after 6 months, we are done with the work. We are done with the application that we thought to develop with. And then now it's the time for marketing, right? So when we go for marketing, instead of getting a positive feedback, rather we got a negative feedback on the product. Maybe we concluded the product that we have developed is a flop. Now tell me guys, what happens to the capital that we have raised? What happens to the 10 lakh rupees that we have raised? What will happen to the 10 lakh rupees that we have raised since the product is a flop, right? It's a waste of money, right? Right, loss. That's a loss. That's the right answer, right? So in this case, even if we resell our hardware, maybe in the second-hand market, we might recover 2 lakhs. That means a straightforward 8 lakhs is a loss. So that's the case with on-premise, right? To start working on the project, first you need to have the infrastructure in place. But when it goes to the cloud, you no need to take the headache or the task of setting up your infrastructure, right? Pay as you go is like, it's a model basically. It's a payment model, by the way. What does that mean is we will pay only for the number of hours we utilize the service. Now let's say for the next 6 months, we have utilized the services of the cloud 1 hour per day, right? So given 30 days in a month on an average, and assume over the period of 6 months, we might pay maybe 2 to 2.5 lakhs, for the cloud computing service provider, right? So in this case, again, take the same case. Our product is a flop and we have invested 2.5 lakh rupees on the cloud computing service provider. So again, here the loss is just 2.5 lakh rupees, right? Against to 8 lakh rupees that we have lost on-premise. And also see here with the cloud, you can immediately start working on your project, right? So there is no wait period. There is no infrastructure, setup and then all those, right? Everything will be up and then running. Only you need to create the account and then start implementing your project straight away. So that's all. That's all happens on the cloud. Now with that, guys, maybe we know, we have Microsoft Azure as a cloud computing service providers. or the provider. Can you guys name some of the other service providers that you come across? Yes.
AWS.
Google
GCP.
Cloud.
Yeah.
Right.
Oracle. Some.
Right.
Oracle, IBM.
Okay. Okay. Any other?
Azure Cloud.
Sorry?
Azure Cloud.
Okay. Okay. That's good, guys. Thanks for answering. The list goes in such a way. The first place goes with Amazon, Azure, Google, and then the fourth place goes with Alibaba, and the fifth place goes to Tencent. Alibaba and Tencent are from China-based services, and then the first three, which are Amazon, Google, and then Azure, are from United States. Right? So that's where we are. This pay-as-you-go model is available on all the cloud computing service providers that we have in the market. Okay, so not only with Microsoft Azure. So that's what I'm trying to come. Or that's where I'm trying to come, sorry. Yeah. And the next one in the list is no automatic updates in place, and upgrading is not flexible on on-premise. Guys, the left-hand side is on-premise. Okay, that means automatic updates are not available, and as well upgrading is not possible on on-premise. But whereas with the cloud, automatic updates are in place, upgrading is pretty flexible, basically. Right? Pretty flexible. So what does that mean? Right? What does that mean is, see guys, let me give you a real life example rather than this, boring textbook definitions, right? See, we all use online banking here, right? Even though you are in other countries, right? Absolutely, you use online banking. So now, see, quarterly once or half-yearly once, we'll get a SMS from our bankers saying that our online services will not be available from this period to this period. Maybe something like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Guys, have you ever observed such a SMS, or have you ever received such a SMS from your bankers? Right? So saying the service will be down for the specified period, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
So what do you think they do during that period or during that time?
Yeah, the program
Maintenance.
changes,
Maintenance.
upgrades,
Maintenance, right? Absolutely. Perfect. Any other thoughts, guys? Any other thoughts? Yeah. Okay, guys.
Upgrade your applications.
Upgrade the applications. Yes, perfect. Right. So you all are wonderful, basically, right? So those are absolutely correct. Yes, they do update their systems. They do update their software. They upgrade also, right? They may also implementing the bug fixes, or they may be rolling out new features on their application, and then so on, basically. Right? So that means what you have to observe from this point is there is a downtime when you have your applications on-premise, right? When you have your applications on-premise, you will have downtime because updates are not flexible here. To have a update rolled out on your application or on the operating system that your application runs on, there will be a downtime. But that's not the case with the cloud, right? Automatic updates are in place. See, what does that mean here? It is you can still use the application. The updates will be installed behind the screens. As and when we log off, close the window and then reopen it, you will have the updates attached to your session. Right? So updates are so much flexible on the cloud. And also there is no downtime needed, if you have your applications on the cloud. And also Microsoft Azure claims their services are up to the percentage of 99.99%. That means you can or might expect a downtime of 0.001%. 001, guys, I'm repeating it again. Okay. So such a high availability these cloud computing service providers comes with. right? And also upgrading as well is very flexible and then easy. Right, and the last one, data cannot be accessed remotely, and with the cloud, data can be accessed remotely. So guys, we all have been working from home from pretty long years, right? Tell me guys, how you are connecting to your company servers by sitting at your home, guys?
Via internet.
Via
Yes.
but that's true,
Yeah.
right? Remote desktops and then VPNs, right? Perfect answer. Right, so that's correct, right? We are connecting to our company servers via VPNs, right? Virtual private network. But VPNs comes with some restrictions, right? So let me give an example, right? See, the company which I work at, right? It have a limitation with VPN. Our company VPNs will work only with India-based IP addresses. It will not work with other country IP addresses. Okay, so that could be a contract or that could be a limitation in with the VPN that we use. But whereas with the cloud, we don't have any restrictions or limitations or drawbacks as such. You sit anywhere in the world, you can use any electronic device that is connected to the internet. You can still access your data by sitting anywhere in the world, right? So that's the benefit you see with the cloud. I guess that's on the slide number 1. Any questions on the slide number 1? Please feel free to ask. On the slide number 1. Okay. The next slide is with respect to the revenue. Guys, maybe some of you have a question here saying that, am I learning the right technology, right? Am I going in the right path? How will be the cloud in the coming years and over a period of time, right? So definitely, you will have such a questions. The slide that you are looking at is from the company called Gartner. Guys, do we have anyone who knows Gartner here?
No.
Okay. So I'll assume no for everyone else also, because I didn't see any other answer than that. See, Gartner is the number 1, or almost number 1 research agency in the world, right? Of course, they do little more than that as well. What they do with respect to the research is they go to the market and then they dig in with the people, they talk to the people and then understand their opinions on various different topics, maybe various different technologies, services, domains, politics, regions, whatnot, community, whatnot, right? They do research on those specifics and then they perform analytics on the data that they get and then they roll out the results. So some of the results are free for the public, like us. We can go to their website and then get the data out from their website. But some may be private data. To have the private data, you need to get a contract with Gartner and then purchase the data as per the contract. So that's a different story. What this is about? This is about the total revenue and then the growth in the revenue for cloud as well as on-premise. So that means this graph is nothing but the total revenue between on-premise and then the cloud, right? And you can see here, it's a total revenue in $1 billion, I guess $1 billion. And it is for the period 2019 to 2025, basically. See, till 2023, they have the data. 24, 25, they have forecasted it, right? See, guys, anyway, let's leave about that stuff, but look at the actual point here. See, in 2019, the revenue for on-premise is $705 billion. And then it goes to 710 in 2020, 744, 775, 805, 838, 868, and then so on. But whereas with the cloud, in 2019, the revenue is 304, 370, 451, 545, 655, and then so on. See my line that I have drawn, guys, with the red color. With on-premise, the revenue of on-premise is a flat. The revenue is flat. There is no much growth you could see here. But whereas with the cloud, see the growth is exponential, right? It's an exponential increase, not even increase, right? Exponential increase. So that's with the total revenue, but also with the growth in the right-hand side of the slide. See, the growth of cloud is exponential again. But whereas with the on-premise, it's a flat growth. Right? It's a pretty flat growth. So what is the takeaway, from this specific slide is you have no other answer than saying cloud is a future. Right? You might have missed learning the cloud this year, or maybe previous year, or the prior year to that. But this is a time to jump on and then learn cloud, guys. Right? So you cannot escape from the cloud if you wanted to survive on IT for longer years. Right, guys? It's not me who is saying, it's not the person Shiva who is saying that. It's the organization Gartner which is saying it. Right, guys? That's about the revenue. I'll not ask for any questions. The reason being, I don't have any thoughts on it other than the one which I've explained you right away. Now let's jump on and then understand Microsoft Azure. Right. See, we all have gathered here, right, to understand what is Azure. Right. So let's get in and then try to understand it first. It initially started as Windows Azure. Later, Microsoft have renamed it as Microsoft Azure, and it is a public cloud computing platform. Right. What does that mean from the public cloud computing platform means? It is for public. Public means like people, you and me, can jump on and then create this service there and then start using their service. Right? We can create the service for free initially, and then we can start working on our project right away. Right away. There is no approvals, there is no pending kind of thing, nothing else. Create the account and then start working on your project. Right the moment. Right. And it includes many different services, and that many different services are nothing but 200 plus services. That means Azure have 200 plus services. So where we can start working on the project from the scratch. So that's one option we have. Or let's say if you have an application or a software that is running on-premise from last, let's say, 6 to 7 years, and if you wanted to move that project to the cloud, that is also possible. So that is called as migration. That means, see here, we can run existing applications in the public cloud as well. So that means we can migrate the application which is running from pretty long time on your servers into the Microsoft Azure cloud. Right? So that's also possible. Right, guys? So we have 200 plus services over here. That's about Microsoft Azure in short. Let's understand ADF. Guys, do we have anyone who have exposure to ADF? Or know what is ADF? Yeah?
No.
No? Okay.
No,
Okay, fine. Thanks. Yeah.
yes,
ADF.
I have little bit.
Okay, little bit. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for answering that. Yes, sure. So do you have any working experience on it?
So we are planning to implement that Azure Data Factory.
Mm-hmm.
So actually we are planning those storage. One is like Gen 2 and Azure SQL databases for storage. So actually we are planning that, not implementation yet.
Okay, good. Nice to hear it. Yeah. So, let's jump on and then try to understand it. ADF stands for Azure Data Factory, right? What this is basically, right? It is a ETL. ETL. E stands for extract. T stands for transform. L stands for load. extract, transform, and then load. I'll give you one simple example. Again, not these boring textbook definitions. See, say you have 10 different Excel files and you have different countries data in each Excel file. Let's assume you have 10 different countries information in 10 different files. That belongs to one single domain, line of business, LOB. Now you were asked to load that data into one single file. Guys, think in a layman terms, don't make the scenario so complex. Again, I'll repeat the context. You have 10 different countries, information in 10 different Excel files. You were asked to make that as a one single Excel file. What do you do, guys, in general?
Segregate based on rows and columns, the country name and the data that we are inputting.
Right, absolutely right. So segregate. That means we can open each and every file, copy the data, and then paste it into one single file. Right. So we can open each and every file one after the other and then paste it and then save it. If you have 10 files, okay, you can do it manually. What if your number of files keeps growing for each and every 5 minutes? So maybe now you have 10. Maybe after 5 minutes, you'll have 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 150. Right? As a human, you cannot have 150 Excel files opened and then copy the data and paste it into one single Excel file or CSV file. Right? So typically, we might miss some data for sure. So that's where services like ADF comes into picture. We can use ADF as a ETL tool to extract the data. See guys, what is extract, right? Maybe picking the data out from the source, right? So in this case, assume your 100 Excel files, right? Extract, pick the data from those 100 Excel files. Transform, that means change the way the data is in as per the requirement, right? Maybe something like adding a new column, removing existing columns, adding some rows, maybe filtering down some rows, and then maybe pivoting, unpivoting, and then so on. These are all falls under transformation. Once you transform the data, and then the last one is load, right? So we can store the data into a given centralized repository. That's nothing but the load. Okay, guys, that's the simplest definition I can give you for ETL, right? And ADF is a cloud-based ETL. And it started its availability from August 2015. Prior to that, there is no ADF. We can develop pretty complex process using Azure Data Factory, and then we can extract data from 100 plus sources. Basically, see, ADF supports 90 plus sources. Actually, with semi-structured, I'm saying it supports almost 100 different sources. What does this mean is, say you have data in Google, say you have data in SAP, IBM, or say Amazon, or say Oracle, MySQL, Teradata, whatnot, SAP, right? Like that, ADF supports 100 plus sources. Right, guys? We can create ETL processes, and then we can extract, transform, and then load the data. Here, the ETL process is called as pipelines. Guys, that's the technical term we have to use. We call it as ETL pipelines, or you can call it as pipelines. Right? So here, we can actually, like I've said, we can build a complex ETL process, and also we can visualize the data movement as well. How my data is getting extracted and how it is getting transformed, how it is getting loaded. To some extent, we can view, we can as well, view it basically, right? So such a benefit, or such a functionality ADF comes with. Okay, guys, right? Any questions?
So is it a GUI tool or?
Yes, of course.
Scripting tool.
It is completely user interface based, service. And by the way, guys, we should not call it as tool. It's a service from Microsoft, right? But yes, to split the question that you have into two parts, The first one, it's a GUI-S. It comes with complete user interface wherein we can make use of various different options that we have there, and then we can build our processes over there, or we can develop our pipeline over there. And then again, like I've said, it's not a tool, it's a service.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Thanks. So let me move on. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
This is the ETL development tool, right? ADF is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Then there is a market data stage and Informatica tools also is there. What is the benefit for the ADF and Informatica? What is the change?
Very, very good question. I'll answer it shortly. Let me park your question for 1 minute. Let me see if there are any other questions. Yeah, I'm going to answer that because my next slide is going to discuss about it. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Since I don't hear anything, before I get on to this architecture, let me answer that question. See, this slide is about SSAS versus ADF. Right? SSAS stands for SQL Server Integration Services. ADF, we know, Azure Data Factory. And I'm taking a versus. Now, what is the difference? Before I get into the data stage or Informatica, whatever you are mentioning, first let's try to understand between SSAS versus ADF. See, SSAS is from Microsoft. ADF is also from Microsoft. Both are from Microsoft, by the way. SSAS is a on-premise tool. On-premise means people like you and me can install it on your machines, and then we can start working on the project. But ADF is not such a case. It's a cloud-based ETL. So that means we can access ADF only via a browser. And the prerequisite here is to have a internet connection. Right? Having a live internet connection is needed to access your Azure environment. I guess that is the mandatory thing you need to have. And with ADF, you no need to have the hardware, or you no need to purchase any license. Have the account and then start working on the project. But whereas with SSAS, you need to first purchase the license. I'm talking with respect to the organization accounts, guys, enterprise accounts. So there you need to take the license first and then start working on your project. Right? SSAS is on-premise. So that means as and when we run any process, your system hardware will be consumed. Okay, but whereas with ADF, Microsoft hardware will be consumed. So that means you might not see limitations with the hardware. Okay, and like I've said, ADF is accessed via Azure portal. Azure portal can be accessed via our web browsers like Chrome, Firefox, and then so on. Right. And ADF and SSAS have its own scheduling infrastructure. What does that mean is, see, take the case of 100 Excel files. So let's say if you wanted to, or let's take a case wherein you get 100 Excel files for every 2 hours, right? Every 2 hours. And you wanted to automate your process in such a way, boss, run this process as and when the files are available, right? We can also have a scheduler in such a way. The scheduler will run the will run the SSAS package or the ADF pipeline for every 2 hours, basically. Right. To come to the question, that our friend have raised here, Informatica, data stage, and then SSAS, and then ADF. SSAS, Informatica, data stage, or on-premise tools. On-premise, that means you can install it on your machine and then have them run on your machine. But ADF is a cloud-based, completely cloud-based. ADF is much advanced than the on-premise tools that we have in the market currently. Right. And then maybe you have a follow-up question saying that SSAS versus Informatica and then data stage. Right, see guys. SSAS is from Microsoft and Informatica is from Informatica Corporation and data stage is from IBM. It is pretty clear, and it's a pretty clear in the market. SSAS is the winner, comparing to Informatica and then data stage. And you have very much community for SSAS in the market than the other two or any other. See, not only Informatica, data stage, we also have Alteryx and then many other tools like that. Right? right? Absolutely. Talent also we have, and then many other. But clearly, SSAS is the winner. The reason being, it has come from a very big company called Microsoft. See, that's the only reason. Right? That's the only reason why SSAS is the winner. And now, ADF is also from Microsoft. And guys, again, ADF is not a brand new service from Microsoft. We already have SSAS from pretty long years. See, I know SSAS from almost 15 years, guys. Though my experience is 12 years, I know it from 15 years, right? But ADF have started in the year 2015, right? ADF was not there prior to that. Then how we are solving the scenario of 100 different Excel files for every 2 hours? Using SSIS, right? Using SSIS, we can automate such a process. Right, guys? Now, any questions before I explain this data ingestion architecture? Right? Yeah, thank you. So, what is this? Right? See, let's talk from the left hand side to the right hand side. So first we have critical data. So that means let's assume healthcare data, like maybe hospital data, and then financial transactions, maybe banking data, and then point on sale, maybe any supermarket, like Amazon there, and then in India we have Reliance, Trends, and whatnot, right? So assume such a data, FMCG data. What we can do is we can make use of ADF as a solution, ADF, and then we can extract data from these sources and then load into our database as is. That can be anything, as I just gave a database as an example. That can be any data store. We can extract the data as is and then load it into one single location. So that's also possible with ADF. And also ADF have the capability to clean and transform the data. That means to remove the unnecessary data and then transform the way it is, and then only load the data that is needed for the end users to consume or to access, right? So you can assume this as a SQL Server database, and then take a case in such a way you can extract data from these various different sources and then load that data into a centralized data repository. Right? By either we can process it or we can as well load raw data, right? Based on the requirement, we can play around with the scenario. Once you have the clean and transformed data, you can have tools like Power BI, Tableau, whatnot, right? So you can make use of those tools. Sorry. Okay. So you can make use of those tools to connect to the data that we have on the database and then develop the visuals on top of it and deliver it to the end users. Yes. So that's simple, in short. And guys, we are going to gather here every other day, of course, starting from today, to learn data engineering, right? Data engineering. What we are learning is we are going to learn Azure data engineering. In fact, we have started learning Azure data engineering. So this is day number 1 of your learning. Right. So this specific architecture have 2 different roles. The first role is data engineering. The other role is data analysis. Right. Let me split the pick or the architecture into 2 parts. This side is data engineering. This side is data analyst. Again, we are going to learn Azure data engineering. We don't worry about the tasks a data analyst have to do. Right? It's data analyst's responsibility to query the data in detail and get the results out for the end users. It's not our responsibility. Our responsibility lies with extracting data from numerous sources, clean it, transform it, and load it in a centralized repository. Right, guys? That's where we stand. And that is all I have. Now, before I ask you for any questions, okay, maybe let me ask you if you have any questions on the slides, guys. Before I show you the portal.
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now what I'm going to do now is, let me show you how a portal looks like. I have opened my browser, guys, and this browser is Microsoft Edge. What I'm going to show now for the next 5 or 10 minutes is the Azure portal, and then the SSAS also I'll show you. How does it look? See, I have trying to connect to my Azure. You can see here it says Microsoft Azure, and I have various different accounts. Of course, these are all valid accounts. I'll come to this section in later point of time, but let me get inside and then show you one of the account here. Let me connect to the Dallas account. Okay, so let me connect. Let me sign into my account. See how it is created. How did I able to log in? Right, it have done 2FA. Right. So you can notice here, guys. Now this is our. Okay, sorry. This is how a portal looks like, basically. And of course, and again Azure browser, and we were accessing it through our browser called Microsoft Edge. So like I've been saying, right? So there were various different services that are available, like 200 and plus services. We can choose the service that we wanted to create here. So you can see on my screen, for now. So I have a SQL database and then the SQL server created in this particular account. Yes, and this account has been created with US based details. So that's why you could see in the top right, it says the University of Texas. Since it is created using US based details, the costing is going to be in terms of dollars, not INR or not any other currency. It is loading, guys. Okay. Right. Right. So in this particular account, in this month, we have consumed $16.87. Right? We have consumed $16.87. So that means Microsoft Azure comes with little cost, basically. Right? It comes with a cost. One second. Okay, guys, right? I think this is typical about the the server. Sorry, the portal. Let me also show you SSAS, right? So SSAS can be accessed via Visual Studio, right? Which is an application that we have to install on our personal machines, right? So I have various different processes here. So let me not make our dynamo one complex. What we are trying to do here, right? So here we have a data flow, and this specific data flow does extracted data from one server and then load data into a different server. That's what it says. We have data in a OLEDB source wherein we try to establish the connection, extract the data from there, and then load inside a different distribution. Right? So such a ETL process we can develop using Data Factory as well. Now guys, I think I'll stop here. Tomorrow, I'll spend some time and then I'll show you how we can create Azure SQL Server, of course, on the Azure portal. And then also I'll try to give access to each one of you. I guess that is pretty much all about that I have for day number 1. Now, guys, I'm open to the questions, right? Maybe you can ask for any questions.
Yeah, sure. I have one question regarding Azure Databricks and Azure Synapse, where it comes into the picture, like the
Right.
data engineering.
Okay, perfect. So, first let me, show you the services. Let me tell you the services that we are going to cover, right? So we'll start with SQL Server, and then we'll also see, SQL Database. We'll start with Data Factory then, and then Databricks, right? Data Factory is complete user interface, based to service. And then Databricks, the other service, which we are going to look in our further sessions, comes with complete programming, basically, right? Databricks, works on programming. Let's say if you wanted to, develop any, develop any logic over there, we have a choices to use between Python, PySpark, which is, of course, PySpark, Scala, or an SQL. So Databricks supports these 4 different programming languages. So you have the choice to choose any one of the programming language, and also you have the choice to write combination of the programming languages at the same time. And after Databricks, we are going to look at Synapse and then Logic Apps, and then we will also see what is a resource group, tags, cost management. We will see what is Data Studio, storage account. Guys, in storage account, data lake, storage account, we are going to see generation 2. And there in data lake, we will also see what is a storage explorer as well. Okay. So these are the 10 plus different services that we are going to cover during our Azure Data Engineer program. Hope that answers.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Regarding the Data Factory and Synapse, both look similar, right? Why do we need to use ADF instead of Synapse?
First of all, both are not the same. Basically, both are, but
both are. But we can create data pipeline using Synapse also, right?
You can do much more than that. Much more than Data Factory in Synapse. See, Synapse is an umbrella of services. Out of the umbrella, Data Factory is one string, that's all. You have many other strings other than Data Factory inside. Right? Data Factory Synapse have the capabilities of Data Factory, Databricks, storage account, SQL Server. Yes, these 4 different capabilities Synapse have. Okay. But, this is very theoretical and high level knowledge, guys. But, you need to first understand all these different services to understand Synapse. Like, Synapse is like our grandparent, right? So first we need to understand it from the child level. There we'll get onto the parent. Right? Yes, it have multiple services capabilities. Okay.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, good.
Here, and so when you shared initially, so you'll teach Azure Databricks and Azure Synapse and like the Snowflake kind of overview. Sorry, you have worked in Snowflake and all these things. So my questions are general questions. Why we move to you said like you'll dump the data into the Snowflake, this cloud data warehouse tool. Why don't we use the Azure Synapse instead of Snowflake? Because we are using the Microsoft product. Why do we go to against Snowflake?
Who told you that I'm dumping data into Snowflake? Did we discuss about it?
Maybe I heard that one, but
no. We use So maybe you have maybe heard it wrong, or maybe I'm sorry, I might be wrong. No, we don't use Snowflake as a one single solution. We also use Snowflake along with Azure services. Basically, see, it's not us who can decide what kind of technologies a project have to use, right? So for one specific project, we use Synapse as a database solution. It's not for all the projects, right? See, let me also go back to my discussion that I have done. I work with 4 different projects. I work on 4 different projects, basically. Out of that, one project, we load data into Snowflake. On the other 3 projects, data is on the Azure. That includes Azure SQL Server, and then Synapse as well, basically. Okay, so there are no limitations, guys. There is no restriction as such that you have to use only, Snowflake, or that you have to use only Synapse or so. Let's see, most likely, such a requirement comes from the management. It's not maybe, at our level, maybe we might not get a chance to conclude the services that we have to use. Right, but again, but if you have given a choice to choose, yes, we can obviously go with Synapse, because Synapse have a data warehouse capabilities. It can handle data so easily. Hope that answers.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So one quick question for ADF, right? Means, do you see the use case when there is no source or target from Microsoft? Means, do we use ADF at that moment also, or means I know it can, but there are use cases or not? Means we are using ADF, but we are not using any of the other Microsoft services.
Yes, absolutely. You can as well see. Maybe you have two questions in your discussion. The first one is, if ADF doesn't support the source. The second one is, let's say you have 10 different or 200 different services. Can we use only ADF as a solution? That for both of your questions, the answer is yes. See, for your second question, see, assume you have data on your personal laptop. Right? Leave about the organization things. Assume you have data on your personal laptop, and you have to copy your data from your personal laptop into my laptop, Shiva's laptop. You can use ADF to do it. Okay, you can use ADF to it. One simplest answer for your question. The second one is, if ADF doesn't have the supporting source and then the supporting destination, no, you cannot use anything. See, ADF supports 100+ sources. If you have something which is out of that, then maybe we are talking something which is not at all popular in the market, right? And also ADF
from the market capital world, right? Means when we are using it, are we using it only when we are using any of other Microsoft services, or there are scenarios where we are not using any SQL Server database or any MySQL, those
if
kind
you
of
wanted
things?
if you wanted to extract data, transform it, and then load it, then ADF is the best solution that you have on Azure. Okay.
On Azure, right?
On Azure, absolutely, on Azure, yes. But of course, we have other other alternatives as well. But the best solution and the easiest way, and then and then the more advanced one is Data Factory, basically.
Okay. And if I want to compare it with any of the AWS services, what it will equal to in AWS?
Can you repeat it? So when you compare with AWS?
So ADF as a service, right? Parallelly, if I want to say that, okay, AWS also has a similar service, which service it is from AWS?
AWS doesn't.
I have a little bit of AWS.
AWS doesn't have ADF capabilities. Okay, it doesn't have. You need to write programming language in Amazon to have ADF capabilities there. Okay, guys. We are not yet done. This is just our day number 1. We are over 6 minutes. I'm sorry for those who's
last question. What is the duration of this program?
It is from.
And what are the services we are going to cover on this?
We just discussed about the services, right? Okay. Anyway, no problem. Since you raised that question, what I'll do, let me pack that question for tomorrow. As when we start our tomorrow's session, I'll first discuss about the services that we are going to cover. Right. So what is the other question? Is the duration? Duration, will fall anywhere between 1.5 months to 2 months, and then we go from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. IST.
So when I search in Google like data engineering skills, there are 20 to 30 skills mentioned in Google. So what are all the necessary skills one should have to become a data engineer?
Right, absolutely. See, it is the same question which another friend of us have asked. So I'm going to answer that question as a first thing tomorrow, right? because I have already discussed. I don't know. Again, I'm hearing the same question. So let me gather them and then I'll answer them tomorrow first thing basically. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Because why I'm parking for tomorrow is there is some reason why I'm parking for tomorrow, because I'll have a continuation on top of it so that you will not miss anything. So that's the only reason why I'm trying to park this question for tomorrow's basically. Okay. Okay, guys. I think I have to jump on to another meeting. So we will continue our discussion, guys. We are not yet done. We have few more things to discuss on our very initial days. Right. So tomorrow, like I've said, our major agenda is to create Azure SQL Server, and then maybe I'll let you access the SQL Server. Right. So let's see, based on the time that we get, I'll also help you access it. Okay, yes, thank you very much. For those who stayed, 10 more minutes. I'm sorry for them. And thanks again, guys. I'll catch you all tomorrow at the same time. Right.
Thank you, Shiva.
Thank you.
Good night.